It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero Comic-Con news.
We love conventions, long lines,
leaked trailers,
and superheroes. Leaked trailers, footage from grainy footage from inside of convention halls, zoomed in and cropped, and you can kind of make out what's going on.
and it's dark, it's so grainy. But anyway, sorry, continue, Mike.
Yeah, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week we do have all the SDCC coverage that we could gather that was appropriate for the show. We all know San Diego Comic-Con is a huge show, and there are lots of things that we probably don't have in here, but we did gather what we could based on our topics, including Marvel's big Avengers announcements, which I want to talk about my experience with this when we get to it later in the show. It's at the end of the show, and it's very funny. The Joker 2's second trailer came out this week. People may have forgotten about that. That was not at Comic-Con. We also will tag on our Deadpool and Wolverine review at the end of the show, but we have a full episode review if you're a subscriber in your feed and more.
Yes, normally at the top of the show, I love vamping and just saying what's on my mind, but the number one thing that's on my mind is San Diego Comic-Con. We had a very eventful Hall H for Marvel last night. Chris and I were in the text chat just reacting to everything, also a lot more. I don't know if it's becoming easier or maybe it's just harder to police it, but I feel like we've pretty much over the last calendar year, it's been pretty easy to get footage from inside of these convention centers no matter where they are.
So my understanding is they allow you to film everything. One channel even has the full thing except for the footage. They make you turn it off for the footage. But we all know there are some shady people out there, and they will absolutely release that footage online, which we've seen a couple things. We haven't seen everything, but we'll talk about it later. But they do allow people to film in Hall H except for the footage now. So that's a big win for everybody all around.
Which was useful for us because you were able to keep me apprised of everything that was going on as if you were in the room and you were, the guy in the chair in front of the computer getting me all the delicious drops. So
yeah, I hate X.com, Twitter, previously known as Twitter. I hate it so goddamn much, but it is the only place I can get this, these scoops the fastest, the most live. I had a YouTube video going with some reliable people who do news, superhero news and stuff like that, and even get some scoops, but they were still 3 minutes behind Twitter. And so as much as I hate it is great to have.
Yeah, it is really unfortunate. I've exclusively switched over to Threads. I've deleted the X app off of my phone. I rarely go there if I have to anymore. The community over on Twitter, I feel like, is so much less hostile and more thoughtful, but they are still not up to the second posting.
You mean
that
you mean
X
Threads? Yeah, you mean Threads, not Twitter. Twitter and X, they suck. I hate everyone on there. It is not.
This is the confusing part.
Yeah. So
I'm glad everyone read through the lines, but I think we should just. I want to jump into it. I just want to start talking.
Well, let's get into it. So first and foremost, we'll start with our topics here. Anything in our show notes that is San Diego Comic-Con related, we'll say SDCC. Anything else that was before that or somewhere else is not in here. So I did the best I could to notate it. But we got some non-Comic-Con stuff that I put earlier on in the week. Then we have some Comic-Con stuff later. And I think the first thing we're going to jump into, Mike, is Jurassic Park, the world of Jurassic Park, the Jurassic World, if you will. And the new tentative title for this upcoming movie, Mike, is currently Jurassic World Rebirth is rumored to be the upcoming title from the film. And this comes from, I believe it might have been a Funko listing or some sort of product listing being the name. This is what we're listing as. Now, that could be a placeholder, but if it's Jurassic, I don't like Jurassic World. The Jurassic World is not, I don't like the world part of it. I love Jurassic Park, but if this is it, I'm okay with this. This title doesn't offend me at the end of the day. It seems appropriate for a third trilogy that they're probably going for in the Jurassic line.
Just makes me wonder, is Rebirth just supposed to signify like a soft relaunch of we're still living within this Jurassic Park world and everything is still connected to it? It makes me think that, if they were planning on rebooting everything like a hard reboot, we probably wouldn't have the word world in there.
We would know.
I think last time we talked,
wouldn't they tout that? They'd be like, we're rebooting Jurassic Park from ground zero. And I think they've not really done that.
Yeah, I would have loved just a name change, though. I mean, we talked about when this first came up, what if it was called like Jurassic Campus and it happened on a campus, or Jurassic City, because we've been hearing this is going to happen in a city, but oh well, whatever. What are you going to do?
No, my Siri decided to say Jurassic Siri, and I don't like that. I don't like that one bit.
Okay, I mean, I'm glad the robots are pitching their own ideas, I guess.
Well, yeah, maybe the AI takes over the park in this one, Mike. Maybe that's the deal. Humans aren't involved. It's robots breeding dinosaurs. But
well, Chris, if there's going to be a robot talking to me, I think there's a perfect voice I'd like that robot to sound like.
And I think we may have covered this before, but Scarlett Johansson has confirmed that she is in the movie and it is filming. It has been filming for a while. So another big name coming to this. Obviously, if I was an actor, I would want to be attached to a Jurassic Park name some way, even if it was a small thing. And most people may forget the Lost World had Vince Vaughn in it. Remember when he was in there? Yeah, he was the camera guy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so get Scarlett Johansson there. And I think that's great. Good for her. A great actress. She can do anything she wants out there, and she wants to be in Jurassic World. By gosh, she's probably got the agent and the money to get her in there if she wanted to. So, not much else out of Jurassic World. To do that, maybe one day, not today, but in another episode, I want to talk about the toys that came out of Jurassic Park from 1993 that don't match up with the movie at all. But I think we'll save that for another conversation. Moving on, Spawn, the movie that they keep threatening us with again, from is it Todd McFarlane, right? I believe the writer creator Spawn. So they have unveiled, I think, Spawn. Blumhouse and Todd McFarlane have come out and said that the movie script is completed and is titled King Spawn. And on the surface, I hate that name, but there was literally a comic arc of the same name in Spawn, which, I included a little synopsis of the comic book here. It's where the Spawn universe, there's a growing presence of hell, heaven, and heroes on Earth, with a classic villain Spawn's past starts being assertive on Earth by corrupting as many souls as possible, and only Spawn knows that he exists. Sounds like literally a B-level Blumhouse movie, right? Like I'm going to actually compare this to our next topic, Hellboy, pretty close, right? A very tight-knit movie that doesn't need to span the world ending from a Spawn point of view. But
it's interesting that Hellboy has had more traction just historically in the entertainment industry of getting adaptations. And we've really only had like one live action Spawn. Mm-hmm. The animated series on HBO was, I believe it was pretty critically acclaimed and well received, especially for the time it came out. It was very edgy. We didn't get a lot of adult animated edgy stuff, especially superhero adaptations like that. So it's actually kind of surprising me that it has taken this long to get more Spawn, but I'm ready for more Spawn. It feels like out of all the comics that have just been mined over the last couple decades, it might be kind of refreshing to bring back a familiar face. But we know that this is going to be a smaller story with a smaller budget, and honestly, I'm okay with that. And you know what? That kind of leans into the Hellboy Crooked Man topic that we have too.
But real fast, Jamie Foxx was previously attached to play the main character as of like 2017, 2018. When they announced the movie, I don't know if he still is or not. I know we've known had health issues. If they're trying to keep the budget low, Jamie Foxx may not be available for this. So if we get casting, we'll let you guys know. And they're also doing an R rating in mind for this while developing it. Makes sense, right? Spawn is definitely not something that needs a PG-13.
Weird if it wasn't.
So absolutely looking forward to to seeing King Spawn, but Hellboy the Crooked Man dropped a second trailer this week. I think this might have been Comic-Con related. I don't know. But it was on Twitter, and there's like it's more of a gruesome trailer feel. I feel like everyone was like, "Oh, this trailer's better than the last one." We didn't mind the last one. We know what it is. We're getting into, but this one is like he's squeezing the head off a snake. It seems to be kind of very creepy. A lot of like what's that? Those like movies? Not The Ring, but more recent.
Evil Dead.
Yeah, Evil Dead-ish. Like anything that's out in the middle of the woods with spooky things happening, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah, this feels like an Evil Dead. Not Cabin in the Woods the movie, but a Cabin in the Woods style of slasher scary movie, but then you throw Hellboy into it to kind of solve the problem. I love that kind of vibe and premise of it, because usually when you're in a scary movie, you're just following like a hapless, helpless person trying to escape the evil, and then usually the way scary movies go is they don't always win at the end. Usually evil prevails, and then you get like a questionable ending of whether or not the evil continues into a sequel. I love the idea of like, oh yeah, throw Hellboy into it. He's gonna punch that evil in the face. Yeah. And this is a much more successful trailer. Even though, like you said, we liked the first one, so yeah, I'm down for this. Yeah. This looks great.
And the thing about this is, what we've always seen with the other Hellboys is he's kind of indestructible and like unafraid, right? Very, very sure of himself. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't seem that way. He's like, I don't know what this is, and he's not very like, gung ho to fight it. He's very much like, the preacher at the end. He's like, you don't believe in the power of prayer, and he's like, just in case, and he's like loading his 6-shooter, right, his gun. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy that he's not like coming in there and just like swinging his fist around completely yet, but like it feels more like, oh, there's stakes here, and we don't know if he's gonna get through it or not. And honestly, it doesn't matter, because if if they want to kill him at the end and the movie's one and done, so be it. That's them. The other part, I realized there's no release date for this movie. I don't know if it's going straight to streaming or theaters yet, but we will keep you guys posted as we get more Hellboy news out of this. The worst bit of news here, I should have started with this because I think it's the worst bit of news here. It's the Rebel Moon director's cut. The two movies. We got a red band trailer for the upcoming versions, and while there are some really cool shots in here, Mike, I will give them that. There's like this. In one of the ships, there's like a robot lady who has like wires coming out of her right at the end that they blow up the ship. And then this one, she like stands up as like a robot person or something. I don't know what the hell's happening. Is different than the movies. I really enjoy some of that, but like I hate the slow goddamn motion of these movies, Mike. It's gonna drive me nuts to see that. But if people want to watch it, I don't think we have a lot to say this. I mean, we're just going to sit here and knock these movies yet again for over and over again. But it is coming out August 2nd, so, in a week or so people can dive up again, and we can, start reading maybe the discourse online if it's positive.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I wasn't slightly curious just based on A/B comparison in Hollywood. How often do things like this happen where a director's cut was kind of almost always intended as the outcome? It's like Netflix wanted to get 2 movies, or I guess technically 4 movies out of one budget. So I'm not going to watch it, but I do want to watch like a YouTube essay of somebody like breaking down the differences of like kind of telling the same story, but with slightly different visuals.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that half-hour YouTube essay of here's movie 1 differences and here's movie 2 differences, and what do they mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But they do show a lot of people just like literally exploding into like bloody mists in this as well. So we definitely see they up the blood. There seems to be the tentacle porn scene added back in there for.
Oh God, yeah, very gratuitous shot to let you know. Oh, it's not just blood you're gonna see. You're gonna see all the freaky sex that you wanted.
Yeah, and that character obviously related this week because of Deadpool. He played Ajax in Deadpool, Francis. So bringing it back around. But yep, check out that trailer in our show notes as we go along here. Moving on, a surprising/unsurprising announcement: The Boys is getting a prequel series called Vought Rising, set in the 50s, 60s, with returning characters Soldier Boy and Stormfront, with the actors Jensen Ackles and Eddie Cash returning in those roles respectively. Did not expect the same actors, actually, if I'm going to be honest. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if anybody out there is not caught up with the show, I mean, I'm not even caught up with the show. I haven't seen the most recent season, but these are characters that are kind of ageless in a way, so it makes sense that they could still use the same actors. I know that you weren't really down for the extracurriculars of watching the other series that they have, Gen V.
Yeah.
Even though I liked it and I watched it, but this is the first time I'm kind of starting to share your sentiment of, well, now this brings in like the prequel-itis that we always talk about, where I'm sure it'll be fun and entertaining and it'll be gruesome and they'll do like the boys, kind of formulation that they put into superheroes on screen. But at this point in time, it's just like, I think I only have enough time in my life to follow the kind of the main storyline. But that is wrapping up soon, so I guess if you did need more boys in your life, here you go.
And I think from what I've heard, and this is pure hearsay, I could be wrong, that Gen V does tie into the recent season of The Boys.
Two of the characters are supposed to make an appearance.
And then also,
I don't know how
well, the MacGuffin of that also is in this, right? Like a virus kind of thing as well.
Oh, yeah, I think they did bring that up.
Well, either way, so it gives me a little bit of hope that this prequel may tie into the last season if it comes out before the last season, right?
Oh, yeah, that could be a possibility.
Because, I don't know if Soldier Boy or Stormfront are dead at this point in the show. So I know Stormfront was mutilated, but obviously there's superheroes, they don't age because she's from like the 1940s. So the boys aging system just really throws me off at the end of the day. But what can you do? It's superheroes. But for people who are fans of the boys, good for them, right? Awesome, more content. Moving on, Batman. We're gonna get into we have DC and Marvel, and that's it now. So if anyone was concerned, we're moving fast. We're getting into Comic-Con stuff. Batman: The Caped Crusader. A new image has been released confirming there is Oswalda Cobblepot as this version's Penguin, Mike, voiced by Minnie Driver. And this character, Oswalda Cobblepot, is a jazz singer in the show, and they've recorded jazz singing in the show for this, like with the musicians and Minnie Driver.
Yeah, they're really taking their own spin. Is this? I don't know if this character has existed before in the comic books or not.
Never heard of it. I think this is the first time. And then you when you click on it, you can see we've included an image for people to see here of her fighting Batman at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a very small niche corner of the internet that is mad that they've turned a character into a woman, but I would kindly tell them to sit down and shut up, and I'm sure the show's going to be good.
I'm gonna go back to The Boys. In the comic books for The Boys, Stormfront was a male character. She was not a female character. They gender swapped it for the show, and that worked out really well. So I think you can do it here.
There you go. Listen to Chris. Listen to Chris, everybody.
And we actually have. I'm gonna swap some topics around here, Mike. We actually have more Penguin news because they showed an SDCC trailer for the Penguin. At the hall. I don't know if maybe it was DC or maybe HBO had the panel this weekend, but there's a trailer for the Penguin. We get to see, I think it's his mother, right, saying you're going to take over the world. We get to see a little bit more of the Falcone family, the daughter of the person who's a little bit unhinged, it seems, because she was in Arkham Asylum and is someone called the Strangler or something like that, the Hangwoman. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this show, Mike, and I wanted to talk to you about it because two things. Number one, it's a Batman show without Batman so far, right? It's a Gotham thing. It seems to take place over a very short period of time, but boy, it feels like they're pulling out all the stops to make this some premium show right here. Like really make you want to dig your fingers into Colin Farrell's character a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because I feel like the solution to making an idea of this show works is you have to make a really, really good crime drama, right? Because you're not really relying on a lot of pre-established nostalgia, right? Or fan service, because, it seems like Batman's not going to be in the show. And if he was, it kind of seems like it's going to be like a cheesy cameo or something like that. So you're really just relying on Colin Farrell's performance. And he was great in the movie. So it's kind of like if I was telling HBO, oh, you want to make a Penguin show, how should you do it? We'll just make the best damn crime mob show that you can make, and the Penguin just happens to be in it. And it seems like that's the direction that they're going, but unfortunately, I feel like really engaging shows like that just aren't really going to make super compelling trailers in a way, right? You kind of just have to put it in front of people and get story hooks into them, so they want to come back next week. So that's probably why we feel so weird. It's just kind of like, oh, it's a superhero story, but we don't have any of like those big kind of like splash pages to see and reveal. It's almost like if this was like, let's say if this was a comic book, like a unique Penguin storyline, like in a trade or something like that, probably not a lot of people would pick it up until you start hearing people out in the world like, oh, this is a really, really good story arc. You got to read this one. This is essential Penguin reading or something like that. So we'll have to see if HBO can pull it off and make this essential Penguin watching, but kind of a tall order.
It's a tall order, but if it feels like they've put some pedigree in it with the actors, right? The cast, the people behind it. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're doing something cheap and quick. It kind of reminds me if I was watching The Sopranos, but everything was set in Gotham instead of wherever The Sopranos was set. So you know, how much of it is it going to be just mobsters calling each other's bluff at dinner tables while eating pasta? So you know, if that's it, it's not gonna be fun. But I did enjoy. I don't know the actress's name. She's technically the mother in How I Met Your Mother is the daughter.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. But she looks like she's gonna have that crazy heiress kind of thing going on, and I'm excited to see it. So I will probably tune in at least to the first episode of The Penguin. It drops September 19th on HBO, so it'll be good fall season watching right there. As long as it doesn't cut in my Great British Baking Show. Otherwise, I'm out. Can't watch it then.
Yes.
But moving into the Batman universe, we're going to stay in here for a little bit, and that is that Matt Reeves' universe, they call it internally the Batman Epic Crime Saga universe. So the Penguin is in the Batman Epic Crime Saga, if they want to distinguish these three Elseworlds, or the main DC universe and two Elseworlds, the Joker and the Batman stuff. But the producer of it, not Matt Reeves, the producer says they're currently looking at another TV series follow-up after the Penguin, which maybe could be a single one-shot series, and focus on marquee characters. And marquee characters, when I looked this up, kind of runs into like other villains in the Batman universe. Some people were suggesting the Joker that we got to see, who currently exists in the universe, right? As can't think of the actor's name. He was in the Eternals, but like
Barry Kogan.
Yes, so he already exists, right? So if we got a show detailing him a little bit, we could see that. I don't know. I guess they feel confident in the Penguin, is what this is telling me. But I don't expect to ever see the Batman Epic Crime Saga universe on a poster anywhere going forward. I would just roll my eyes wholeheartedly. Moving on, speaking of the Joker, we have a Joker trailer this week, and this is our second one, and this one really kind of tells us, it feels like the story from Harley's perspective more than the Joker's a little bit. We got a little more of Lady Gaga's, I can't think of her civilian name, kind of talking about, you know, when she saw him, and they're singing. There's a lot of music, a lot, like slow build up to music. Joaquin Phoenix is singing. I feel this is going to be a very much it's not a full musical, but what do they call it? Like a jukebox musical, where they use music to kind of push the story forward a little bit. I liked it. It made me realize I've never revisited the first Joker since I saw it in theaters, and that's not a complaint against the movie. I just don't want to feel depressed the whole time, because it's not an uplifting movie by any means. But this looks to be interesting. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of the same idea that we had when we were talking about the Penguin trailer. Of the trailer looks good. It looks really intense. A lot of emotional moments. You know, usually when we're analyzing like superhero trailers, you know, like Captain America: Brave New World, we're looking at like the things that are 4 frames in existence in the background.
The woo
like,
shots.
Oh, what's that thing? Yeah, like what's that coming out of the water behind there for at 143 in the trailer, you know?
Yeah.
So this is a different beast, but I love the vibe. It looks awesome. First movie was great. I'm on board.
Yes, a couple things. I watch most of my trailers with captions on, and one of the things, it does confirm that Harvey Dent is one of the characters in here. There's a sign that says his name, but also one of the speakers is Harvey Dent. I don't know who's playing him, but we're going to get an expanded Gotham universe, it sounds like, kind of going forward here. And that is coming out October 4th, 2024. I'm excited to see it, and we'll keep you guys posted as we see more stuff kind of coming out of this. And I'm frantically looking this up because I did not do the next topic justice here, but the DCU did not have a presence at San Diego Comic-Con proper. They didn't bring Superman. They didn't bring anything really. But James Gunn has unveiled the new James Gunn has unveiled the logo for him and Peter Safran cinematic universe, Mike. And I don't know if you saw it or not.
Yeah, no, video. I've seen the logo proper, which is a solid kind of classic, kind of new retro vibe, something you would see in the top left-hand corner of a comic book.
It's
for
like,
sure.
It's like the opposite of the Marvel logo in like the best way possible, right? Like it's blue and white, and it's got the old DC sideways and the big blocky letters, and it says DC Studios. Very simple. Tells you what it is. There's nothing, no characters, nothing over the top, just like the red and white Marvel logo, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah. There's an animated tag to it, which I don't know exactly how they're going to be incorporating it, or if this was just a one-off thing. But since it's a circle kind of shield, I saw a little animation where it was a classic vintage drawing of Superman kind of puffing his chest out, and I think maybe breaking chains, and then it flips around to reveal the DC logo. So there's some fun kind of motion graphics that they can do with the logo. But the video, the TikTok or the vertical video that James Gunn shared, pretty inspiring. He's like all in. He's like, this logo is signifying it's a wrapper of everything that we're starting. It's all starting with Superman, but I think technically isn't it all starting with Creature Commandos?
Yes.
Yeah, chronologically, but yeah, it's a fun symbol.
Yeah, Creature Commandos is going to come out or not. Superman's really where they're going to live or die, right? We've talked about like it's the money maker and stuff like that. But obviously, we've included the video of James Gunn's inspiring speech here. You can check it out and look at the logo. Very classic, very simple. I love it. I'm on board with their logo. It doesn't feel gaudy by any means. Paradise Lost was one of the series announced whenever James Gunn and Peter Safran did their, I guess, initial Slate announcement for Gods and Monsters. But this wasn't at Comic-Con, but some news came out saying the upcoming DCU series may have hired the creative team of Kira Snyder, not related to Zack Snyder, and Janet Lynn. Snyder has previously worked on The Handmaid's Tale and The 100, and Lynn on Bridgerton and Bones. So two creative people with some pedigree and right shows that people talk about and watch and have huge fan bases coming together to work on Paradise Lost. And the series logline for Paradise Lost, because it's a very generic title, is that it's set in Themyscira, home of the Amazons and birthplace of Wonder Woman. The drama focuses on the genesis and political intrigue of an island of all women. So I think it's a pre-Wonder Woman Amazonia, or Themyscira, right, with the Amazonians. Cool. I don't have a lot to say on this. I think that's just a great creative team. I've not watched either of those shows, or all four of those shows. Have you seen any of those by chance?
No, but I know they're popular, and I know that there's a lot of interest around anyone involved in these hit series. So I think that goes to show you that DC Studios, James Gunn, Peter Safran, they got the weight to get in the talent.
Yeah,
that's a good sign.
Yeah, they seem to be building a lot of these creative teams to. They've announced the projects, build the creative teams before they get any further. So hopefully, maybe next year or at a separate DC event. What did they used to have? Was it the Fandome? Remember when they used to do the Fandome?
We're not talking about Fandome anymore. That's dead.
No, bring on the Fandomes. Do it. But that's fine. So moving into San Diego Comic-Con proper for Creature Commandos, they released some footage of the upcoming show. It's like a little trailer here. Fun. It looks like it kind of similar, I guess, to Harley Quinn animation. I think maybe similar studios doing it. You get to see a lot of the characters in action. There's one person who's completely about electricity. Weasel has some eccentric stuff. Not a lot revealed here, but they're essentially Rick Flag Sr. is doing Task Force M, which is monsters at the end of the day.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah,
I don't really have much to say about it now, but the animation looks solid.
Yeah, they also, I did want to say the Rick Flag Senior is Frank Grillo, who will be portraying him live action in Superman, which we saw set photos, and Amanda Waller is voiced by Viola Davis, who was Amanda Waller in the previous DC universe. So they have some carryover there, which I think is cool. And it is debuting December on Max. This is not an HBO show. One of the simultaneous ones. So this December we'll let you guys know how it is, and you guys can stick around with us. But also moving into Peacemaker, we got a little bit. This was an Instagram post that kind of revealed some information this week, Mike, and is that Joel Kinnaman is going to be returning as Rick Flag, and at least in an episode, maybe not the whole series, but an episode, because he was tagged as one of the actors on set with the director that day. So we do know that Rick Flag Jr. was previously in The Suicide Squad and was shot and killed by Peacemaker. So, or stabbed. I think he's stabbed. So, yeah.
I was confused there. I was like, what's happening?
It could be a flashback scene. We do know there was a Frank Grillo video he did a couple weeks ago where he's like, I'm mad at Peacemaker because we've got beef to work out, and probably because he killed his son. But obviously Peacemaker was shot in the neck and he lived, right? Like it's a comic book thing. Like, they don't have to die at the end of the day. It's a Suicide Squad. They had a talking weasel, Mike. And what was David Dastmalchian's character? He had the polka dot man kind of thing. So they could do some weird stuff in this if they really want to. But it's James Gunn's movie, so I don't think he's gonna really wipe that slate clean, right? At the end of the day. Moving on, a video game for DC was announced this week, and DC Heroes United. And I use the word game loosely here. I included the trailer because I thought this was interesting. It's a game with interactive elements from the audience and players that allow the narrative to evolve based on their decisions. So every week you decide what the fate of certain characters are in the game, and then they adapt that into the game going forward, if you will.
Yeah. So, I watched the trailer and I had no idea what I watched, especially with kind of Marvel Rivals out there in the world. I almost thought like, oh, is this like a DC's version of that? Because we don't really see any gameplay. It's just a lot of like hype visual graphics, but they seem to be somewhat lower resolution, as if like this could exist like in a Fortnite style, not in like a highly realistic state. So I just watched. I was like, okay, that's cool, but I don't really know what the heck this was.
It strikes me as if they're making the animation every week based on what players voted on or did in the game the week before. They've got to generate it pretty quickly, right? So using the low res, it kind of reminds me of, was it the Monsters Inc. The Scare Factory at Disney World, where they actually, like, people will talk and it'll react to them talking behind the screen, but like the whole thing's not animating, it's just their mouth, really. Kind of deal. So I think it's going to be weird. It's not, I don't know much about this, but knowing that I played Marvel Rivals and it is a really fun game, this was very interesting to see them kind of come out and be like, oh, we're going to do this. I'm going to give it 6 months, Mike, and this game will shut down based on the amount of people not playing and the amount of work they have to put into it. Yeah. If they're animated it. Last bit of, I guess, DC Warner Brothers news here was interesting. They've announced I guess it's a crossover, maybe it's an event, I don't know if it's a movie or a TV series, but it's Crisis on Infinite Mirths, and it will cross over the show Jellystone, which I think is on Max, with other Cartoon Network shows like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, was it something to Mandy, Grim and Mandy, is that maybe it?
Billy and Mandy,
yeah. So like other Cartoon Network shows crossing over with Jellystone. Are you familiar with Jellystone? That was the thing I think a lot of people like.
Yeah, that's kind of like the retro kind of cartoon ensemble.
The Hanna-Barbera characters that they've brought back to say, how do they live in their daily lives at Jellystone? There's a bunch of, obviously like Top Cat was one. I think, I can't think of their character. The Blue Dog, what's his name? Huckleberry Hound, stuff like that. Yogi Bear. So it sounds like they're going to pull over a big crossover with all these cartoons because Warner Brothers owns them all. You have any interest in this, or are you just like, yeah, I don't care?
Unfortunately, it's cool that Cartoon Network was at Comic-Con making some announcements, because they were kind of not rumored, but for all intents and purposes, killed and absorbed into Warner Brothers. So kind of Cartoon Network in name only. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I wish them well.
I think the Cartoon Network has. They are a channel dedicated to cartoons, which, in a era of streaming and streaming services, you gotta you got to really work pretty hard for it. But I do think the idea for me, you tell me like the idea of crossovers is very easy these days. People are way more accepting to crossovers than they used to be. I always remember, was it Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, was like a big crossover show for me sometimes, because you'd see, you know, different characters show up on there. So I would love to see other kind of things show up here. Johnny Bravo, despite how problematic he would be in today's society, I would love to see him on the crossover kind of thing, stuff like that. So if we hear anything out of this, anything cool other than just, you know, obviously Powerpuff Girls, so on other stuff, we'll let you guys know. This is not Comic-Con news, Mike, but this is one bit of Marvel news that did not come out of Comic-Con. It's just a rumor for the X-Men movie. We know they're working on it. We know they're working towards the Mutant Saga. But 3 characters rumored for the upcoming reboot include the characters Angel, Iceman, and Jubilee. And
yeah, we haven't really had a proper adaptation of Jubilee. There was a version of her in, was it Apocalypse? I think she was in that one technically.
I don't.
But
yeah, it's the one with Nightcrawler, the one with the young Nightcrawler. They went to the mall.
Yeah, but I know she didn't have much to do.
Right.
And they went to the mall and then they stood by outside as Quicksilver had his second super fast slow-mo scene in a movie.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm cool with seeing more Jubilee, as she was pretty awesome in X-Men 97 recently.
Yeah, she's always been a huge character in the comic books. People know who she is. She's got a better role in X-Men 97 than she did the original comics. I think she was more of a damsel in distress. Angel has had 2 versions, one with Ben Foster in X-Men 3, and then also he was like in, I guess, Age of Apocalypse as well, right? Where he was like a cage fighter for Apocalypse or something like that, or didn't really do him justice. And then obviously we had the initial version of Iceman from the X-Men 1, 2, and 3, but he didn't really get his final form until the final scenes of X-Men 3, right? He was just kind of like Rogue's love interest for those. So I would love to see proper introductions of these characters and their powers in there. So it sounds pretty good to me, if that's true. All right, this was last night. This was like an hour of my last night, if not more. Is Marvel's San Diego Comic-Con panel. They'd only had an hour, but they went like an hour 15, and that's fine with me. But they went and said they only had 3 movies to talk about, and the first one was obviously Captain America: Brave New World. And why are they talking about Captain America: Brave New World, Mike, last night? Because
the movie's coming out soon?
It's the next Marvel movie, right? It is the next Marvel movie. Deadpool and Wolverine is officially out. They did open the panel for San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel's panel, with a choir in red and yellow robes singing Like a Prayer from Madonna, right? The song they've used on all the commercials. So that was fun, but they didn't have any Deadpool and Wolverine news. They already had the panel on Thursday. Really, nothing came out of that panel other than, hey, we have the biggest R-rated movie of all time, which is good for them. We got that at the end of the show. Biggest news out the gate, they brought out the cast. They had Giancarlo Esposito, Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford obviously came out later, and then I forget the other guy's name. The other new Falcon, whoever was in Danny Ramirez, I think, right? Is actually whatever. But Giancarlo Esposito confirmed his character is not GW Bridge. It's not anything we thought it was, but he is in fact the king of the Serpent Society, Seth Volker Sidewinder. And he had been saying for a couple weeks now, no one had guessed his character. And if you look up a comic book version of Sidewinder, Mike, and like, no one would have ever guessed this because he looks like a pink snake man.
Yeah, it's a very retro character. And also, we kind of had rumors earlier that maybe the Serpent Society overall was being scaled back possibly in the movie. So I think maybe people took their eye off of looking more down the Serpent lineage and looking at other characters.
Yeah.
But this is probably going to be the only time I'm cynical for the rest of the show, and it's going to be Giancarlo Esposito. We all know you were added later in the movie, so I'm very glad that you're on stage and you're very excited, but I'm just going to have the eagle eye the entire time I'm watching the movie and be like, how did they stitch you into this? Where were you added and dropped in? So there we go. The cynicism's done and out of the way.
All right, good, because I was worried for a bit there. We might have some. Some other bits of Captain America Brave New World. It's more grounded, no multiversal aspects. Obviously, we get to see that. They have confirmed, Mike, this is confirmation. It's no longer rumor. Adamantium is coming from the celestial Tiamat coming out of the ocean. That's how they've made it. So adamantium will be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward, and that is what the celestial sticking out of the ocean will be. They had a clip. We have not seen the leaked clip yet, but they did confirm that, Mike. This was news coming out of there. It feels like a spoiler.
Well,
I hate to say it, I'm like, it feels like a spoiler, but they did say it, and it is on the news everywhere, so that's why we're going to cover it.
Well, I feel like Namor should be happy that there's another mythical metal on Earth, and people can leave his undersea kingdom alone, maybe finally, if we ever see Namor again.
He's so angry. He'll be back. He's so angry. Ross, President Ross wants to rebuild the Avengers. That's part of that clip from the trailer. And says, like, I want to reestablish Captain America as, like, official soldier, but he wants to rebuild the Avengers. And then they had a clip that we've not seen. But Harrison Ford is giving a speech in front of the White House, and he turns into the Red Hulk in front of that White House, Mike. So
they're really just putting everything on Front Street for this movie, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what exactly is supposed to transpire in this film, but I kind of was led to believe in that trailer that there was maybe supposed to be a bit of mystery of maybe what exactly was going on with the Red Hulk. But I guess, maybe they kind of got the vibe of, I think everyone realizes, it's Ross. You just got to look at like the comic book lineage and stuff like that. So
type it into Google. Someone's already put it down. Like, right. Like, you're not going to get out of the search. So they show off. We don't have that clip. If I do get these clips, I will let people know, but we don't have that clip either. And then for those who may and went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine this week, they have re-released the trailer for Brave New World in theaters and online even, that replaces footage of Isaiah Bradley, the original super soldier. He was shooting at President Ross through some glass. They took out that scene due to recent political events in America, and they've replaced it with him throwing a table backwards and like jumping out a window. So they've
also, I think he like kicks somebody across the room, or like he's definitely using violence specifically on people in that room. So it is kind of funny. I don't blame them for having to pivot. I get it, but it is kind of funny. Just like, we can show him shooting somebody, but we can show him like mercilessly beating people.
We can't show him shooting at the president, but we can do everything else. But it doesn't change the vibe. After watching it, I'm like, it didn't really change the vibe of the trailer, and unless you're like us who are like going through those 4 frames that Mike says every time we do it, like I don't think a lot of people noticed this difference. Kudos to them. If you see that trailer, you will notice a difference. But Brave New World, Mike, any questions? Anything before we move on to the next topic?
I'm excited for the new.
Yeah,
I'm excited for the new stuff on the docket.
Yes, and so Captain America: Brave New World, I believe it's in February of next year. So we're gonna get it in the I guess winter officially, spring. So buckle up, and we'll keep you guys appraised as we get more stuff as we get closer to that. Shifting gears into the next movie coming out in May is Thunderbolts. We're gonna finally get Thunderbolts, and they brought the cast members on set, except for David Harbour, who was out in the audience, and he was the only one in costume, and he gave everyone hell for not telling them that he shouldn't be in costume, which was scary.
Yeah, it was a great bit. I loved it.
Yeah, and it's not his real costume. He was able to change out of that within like 3 seconds, so I think it was just like one for the show. Like I don't think it's his official costume, but it was really funny to do that. Kind of going down there, they Florence Pugh, Bucky, oh my gosh, Sebastian Stan, so on and so forth. But they did Lewis Pullman, and I put this in here because this is important to me, Mike. He does not tell us who his character is in this movie, but he emphasizes the name Bob. And if I know a Bob, that's Robert Reynolds, and Robert Reynolds is a Sentry. So it sounds like we're going to be getting us a nice Sentry, but they're leaving it they're leaving that a mystery. This is no Red Hulk situation for the Sentry, right? So I expect a thing. This is the only so the Captain America footage hasn't leaked, but it's stuff they've shown before. I think at like other events. Thunderbolts footage has not leaked yet, which is surprising because people said, "Oh, it's the least exciting of all the movies that they came out of here." Mm-hmm. Sure, fine. It's got it's recurring B-list characters. Everyone in there, I think, has been in a movie before so far, but like this footage hasn't leaked yet, so I'm excited to kind of see what it looks like, because one of the things is that this is not confirmed necessarily, but in the footage it shows Val, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, in the Avengers Tower. So it sounds like whatever she's working for owns the Avengers Tower, Mike, and we talked about this last week. We're going to figure out who owns it soon enough. So
yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, you're right.
So it sounds like this is Thunderbolts will get the Avengers Tower, which will probably come back to the Thunderbolts asterisks of them. They're not going to be Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt Ross is not in this movie, Kevin Feige said, but maybe this is his Avengers at the end. Like at the end, Thunderbolts asterisk, the new Avengers or something like that. Maybe is what they're going to call it, whenever the movie comes out. Bucky is now a congressman in the MCU. He's worked his way into a Congress role. I don't know how yet, but excited to see about that. I don't have it in the notes here, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say it's an interesting pivot for Bucky, but I guess at the end of Winter Soldier, he was trying to make a new man of himself and make up for his past. So maybe this is his way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, but like, we did see him out of Falcon Winter Soldier he got his hair cut. He was doing the same stuff. I think they even showed in like one scene, he washes his arm in the dishwasher. Like he took his arm off and washed it in the dishwasher kind of thing, or took it out of there. So that's a funny little fact about his day-to-day life, living with a robot arm. Ghost is back in this movie. A lot of people are like, oh, they cut her. But she's in that, the actress from Ant-Man and the Wasp. She'll be back in here. And one of the notes, again, I don't have this fact, so I didn't put it in here, but Florence Pugh said she jumped off like the 4th tallest building in the world for this movie. So sounds like they're doing some pretty big stunts.
All right, that's cool.
Yep. Last bit, the footage description is essentially all of the Thunderbolts are assigned to the same mission to take care of someone, kill someone, because they're all like, kind of Suicide Squad-esque kind of people. But they come to find it's a setup. They're all been sent there as a setup. And then chances are it's probably the Sentry or like his evil version, the Void. But they didn't show it. They didn't show anything like that. So that kind of gives it, that's an interesting premise for this. I didn't know what it would be, really. But them all being set up to take a fall, that kind of falls in line with this.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else about Thunderbolts, Mike, before we move on into the next bit?
We are getting so close. As progressively as we go through this Hall H panel, I get more hyped. So every new topic that you move on to, I'm like, yes, the next one. Yes, the
next one. This one has probably the most photos and footage leaked out of anything I've ever seen at a Comic-Con. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And we're going to talk about the Fantastic Four. And first and foremost, over the weekend, I think it was Thursday night, Marvel did a drone show. And I don't have it in here. I'm going to have to link the clip, but it is literally the drones take the form of the purple Galactus, the big head shape with the V thing on top, Mike. It was beautiful. I think I sent it to you, right? The drone show.
Yeah, it looked great. I mean, it feels weird saying the fidelity of drone shows are improving, or I don't know if they're just getting more comfortable throwing more and more drones up in the air, and having them, synchronized. But yeah, the visuals that they can get out of these things are really cool.
They've gone from NES 8-bit art to 16-bit art overnight. I don't know how they're doing it. It's the color shading, I guess, of the drones, but it looks beautiful. Then they did the Fantastic Four, a circle, and then they have the drones with the new smoke coming off of them and sparks to look like the Fantastic Four that Johnny Storm lights up in the sky. And there was just a wonderful little like kickoff for the events this week. Let's go through the notes here. First, Matt Shakman, director, came up on stage, and then the cast showed up. But they did reveal filming starts this week on Tuesday, so they are officially filming this movie starting this week, Mike. And they all were leaving the panel to go back to London to film, and it releases a year from now. So next Comic-Con, we will have Fantastic Four to talk about.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because we do have some leaked footage from the hall where they have already filmed things. I guess maybe that more falls under like
right here,
pre-production marketing budget or something,
there's a bunch of test footage. They actually said it's test footage with the actors and the sets, and I want to get into that later because that's a whole thing in and of itself. That clip that they showed that we have leaked and can talk about is just huge. They hand out these like little flap cards that you fold out on there, and they revealed the Baxter Building in this 1960s kind of Manhattan looking thing. I love this. This feels like World Fair kind of artwork, right? Like Jetsons meets the World Fair kind of artwork.
Yeah, the retro future aesthetic is strong in everything that we've seen so far, and it looks great.
Yeah, you can check out that link to those images there below. This is set in 1960s New York in a different universe, and Matt Shackman, he went out and he's like, so this is a movie about science, so we talked to scientists during production or pre-production to understand, are we close? Obviously it's multiversal, it's comic books, it's not going to be exact science, but they were like, how can we get this as close to real life as we can in there? And I thought that was really cool little thing to talk about. I don't have it linked here, but I will link it. Mike, I sent Mike this clip. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. They brought out the Fantasticar for this movie, like an old Cadillac straight out of the Jetsons, and they actually had it float on strings across the whole stage in front of the screen and everything. And
yeah, that shit was cool, even watching it from cell phones in the audience, because it's like a magic trick. I was trying to put it together in my head. I was like, is that a drone? Is that a balloon? Is that a projection? But then it kind of moves from kind of like quadrant to quadrant across Hall H. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. Like, they need to bring this to like Disney parks some way, having like this car float around. That's so rad.
Yeah, and they had it actually went over the background of their concept art of the futuristic 60s city. It's really cool. It's a very simple car. It's even actually on those handout flaps. If you take a look on those, right above the Baxter Building is the little car, and it looks like literally, as someone said, and I wrote down, the Jetsons if it came to life, right, instead of cartoons. We had some test footage. It's like a minute of test footage, right? I sent it to you. Shout out to a listener of the show, Jason. He sent me the link, but it was taken offline by the time he got to me 2 minutes later, so I had to go digging for it. I actually saved it in some of our folders because I'm like, I don't want to lose this. I really am going to want to watch this. So I'm going to have to dig into that, how long it was. But it's just like a 4:3 ratio of Reed teaching a class. Then they have like an old 1960s dating show look. They've got them going out to like talking about dinner at 8:00 every Sunday because they're a family. There's a song about the Fantastic Four going in the background with like that old, like, you know, sitcom style, I guess, or old show stuff. This was some of the coolest test footage I've ever seen, Mike, and I'm looking at it through a blurry phone from 100 feet away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can really only comment on the vibes of it overall because we are looking at blurry footage, but it seems like they're not only leaning into the 60s aesthetic, but also kind of 60s retro future, maybe characterization of the characters. Pedro Pascal is kind of like talking like a corny character like you'd meet in the Fallout video game series, right? So that kind of makes me look forward to eventually when they get possibly pulled into another universe, or they interact with more of our mainline MCU characters. Like, be some fun interactions there. But I mean, the biggest thing that blew me away is at the very end, it cuts to black, and I think, oh, okay, the leaked footage is over. And then we see Galactus's peepers looking into what looks to be like a skyscraper or something like that. And it's just like, oh, okay. So you talked about the drone show showing Galactus. We see Galactus in the test footage. They're letting you know you're finally going to get to see Galactus.
You're getting
and I'm expecting it. And yes, I better be getting it.
You are getting comic accurate Galactus. He is huge. He's got the weird like kind of gears on his head. His eyes even have like that squarey look when you look at it a little bit. This is it's actually not a minute. It's 2.5 minute footage. And I'm just I appreciate the stretch they're going for here, right? Obviously, we didn't even talk about it. They changed the title. Fantastic Four: The First Steps is what the movie's called now. And they did it so people can differentiate the Fantastic Four movies. We're like, did you watch the Fantastic Four? Well, which one? There's been 3 called the Fantastic Four. So they call it First Steps, and it's like, we're not doing origin, we're doing this, but like they really leaned into like the style. We talked about a director having a vision, right? We always want a director who has vision and can do something a little different. This movie, I think, will be huge, not just for Marvel, but period pieces in general, right? Like how much fun they're having. Do you remember that Disney movie Tomorrowland they made about the Tomorrowland? This is what I wish it would look like at the end of the day, right? Like this is the Tomorrowland I wanted to see, rather than what we got. So I'm thoroughly excited. I am not going to link the footage here, folks, because I do not want our podcast taken down. However, if you go look Fantastic Four leak footage, you're going to find this stuff. And I want to know your thoughts because I love the artwork style. It does feel like, when you go into Disney and they had that Tomorrowland stuff, right? The 60s when Walt made all that stuff. It feels just like it. And I can't believe that they're just going for it. They're going huge for it along the way. And lastly, Michael Giacchino, I don't pronounce his last name, is a composer. He directed Werewolf by Night. He's also the theme writer for the Inside Out movie and has done tons of other movies. So a very talented man doing the music for this. And I love when you watch this leak footage, you'll hear the Fantastic Four song in the background. And I think he's really, really done a good job with this. So Fantastic Four First Steps, I think I'm gonna rank this now as my number one hype thing out of here. And I'm only gonna say that, Mike, because we gotta see and hear so much of this movie. But the other stuff is pretty damn cool after we get into this. So let's go ahead. Any questions about Fantastic Four: The First Steps before we dive into last bits here?
Loved it.
Okay, great. Love you, Mike. I love you. That's what I love. We're jumping into here. So they said 3 movies. Of course, they lied. They gaslit us. They said, you know what? Here's one more thing. They put up on the screen the Russos return, Mike. Boom. Confirmation. We talked about this. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago? I think it was last week that the Russo brothers were in talks to return to Marvel to direct Avengers Secret Wars. So they started with Secret Wars, which is actually 2 Avengers movies away. So they gave us a new logo and a release date May 2027. Big orange thing. It's probably going to change. Obviously, they always adapt the logos as we get closer. But the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo, are back to direct this movie. Cool, right? They play well. We talked about last week. They play well in the sandbox. They know how to make $1 billion movie for Marvel. So I think, good for them.
Chris, I'll give you a great segue here to the next topic. Yeah. When you sent me this and showed me it, I was like, oh, Secret Wars. They are conveniently leaving out Kang Dynasty. Okay, maybe they're repivoting and they're going to do like a part 1, part 2 for Secret Wars because they're bringing the Russos back. It feels like, oh, they want the Russos to carry out the Avengers kind of maybe all the way through, quote unquote, the end until things are rebooted. Yeah. And then weirdly enough, there was one more thing.
So instead of giving this in chronological order, they decided to end on Avengers 5. And so the Russo brothers are also going to be directing Avengers 5, previously known as Kang Dynasty, now titled Avengers Doomsday. And when they brought up the card, they marched out all these people in Doom masks and the cloaks on stage, all bright green, wearing the Doom mask behind the Russo brothers. They did this. And I tell you what, if I'd have been there, Mike, I'd have been crying from just seeing Avengers Doomsday. I would be like, there's no way they did this. However, they said that I even showed you the clip where they announced that they're like, there's only one person who we could get to come and play Victor Von Doom himself. And everyone parted it. And one of the Dooms came out, pulled off his mask. And as everybody in the world should know by now, because this has been everywhere for 24 hours, it's Robert fucking Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom in Avengers Doomsday.
Just absolutely wild. I love that there's tons of reaction videos of the crowd just like absolutely like losing it, going feral. Like I think I brought up when we were talking about cameos in Deadpool. It's a nerd boy feral summer. We're all going crazy. I love that there was so much pageantry there at Hall H. It really made me wish like, oh, I wish I could be there, not just to see the exclusive footage, but just to vibe with all of the nerds just getting all these amazing announcements. Robert Downey Jr.'s like social media channels were posting like pictures of him like just hanging out with the mask in other locations. So I wish I could have been a fly on the wall just following him throughout the day before the announcement, because he's going to make news even if he's just seen in San Diego. Right? So he has to play it so low key. I just would have loved to know like what level of effort he went to keep it secret, because you know, he's a super famous guy. I could totally see him thinking, oh, he's above all of the theatrics and he's going to do what he wants. But I think he truly appreciates what Feige and the MCU did for him. So he's like, oh, I'm going to play ball. I'm going to keep it secret. This is going to be a great reveal. And boy, was it, I mean, we were all caps in the group chat for sure.
No, it was, I didn't believe it. I thought we were getting trolled online. I was like, when I saw it first, when I saw Doomsday, I'm like, someone made this fake. They threw it up. Good for them. And then I'm like, okay, there's more. Okay, Doom. Oh my God, it's Robert Downey. Oh my God, it's Robert Downey Jr. It's really him. They've brought back the dream team, if you will, the Russo brothers, Robert Downey Jr. of the Avengers title. But this is not the 6th Avengers. This is the 5th one before Secret Wars. He said 4 words on stage. Robert Downey Jr. had 4 words on stage. He said, "New mask, same task." So it sounds like he's going to have the Iron Man, Tony Stark person to put a suit of armor around the world, right? Protect the world. But he's going to be doing it from a heel turn point of view, right? From the villain's point of view. I fully expect this to be a variant of some kind. We talked about this last week. I think we broke this news last week on the show, and we were both like, yeah, it's great. It's a cool rumor, but it's never going to come true. And here we are this week, be like, yeah, hell yeah, it's true. Once you see it, it is real. You're like, oh, this feels different than theory.
Yeah, it's different when it's announced on stage and everyone involved is hyped and excited, and they're so sure of it that they put it on stage and they do theatrics to present it to the world. But this did show to light. I was keeping an eye on the social media reaction, and you can clearly see the Marvel fans out there who have just not been keeping up with the MCU since Endgame ended, you know, because they saw Tony Stark die on screen. It was a very emotional ending for that character. But since then, the concept of variants and multiverses has been beaten over the head across Hollywood, not just over in the MCU, but in so many other movies. So it's just so weird seeing Robert Downey Jr. return to the MCU, and people are going like, oh, this is so weird. Why would they cast Robert Downey Jr. to play Victor Von Doom? Isn't it weird that he looks just like Tony Stark? Or they're saying, oh, this is weird. They've jumped the shark. It's just like, can't you comprehend that this is probably, I'll put my money on it, this is just a multiversal version of Tony Stark from another universe that happens to turn out bad instead of good.
Yeah, he's doing things the authoritarian way rather than the Avengers way, is my guess. But a couple things I'm going to go over real quick. I know we're at an hour here. We're going to go real quick. Number one, Robert Downey Jr. doesn't need money to come back. This was not a money grab. He can do whatever he wants for the rest of his life, never act if he wants to. So I think for him to come back means he believes in the story at least a little bit, right? He doesn't need the Marvel bag of money to bring him back. Same with the Russo brothers. Even though they've not had hits since they've left, guess what those Avengers residuals are doing to their banks right now, Mike? I hear the pennies dropping in currently as we talk into their accounts, if not full dollars. So I think there is something other than just money behind the scenes here. I think the story is good that everyone believes in and they can tell it, because I don't think they'd come back if they're like, are we doing Eternals too? Is that what we're doing? Because we don't want to do that. Nothing against Eternals, it's just a different movie. But like, you know what I'm saying? We're not doing Quantum Mania. That's the first two. I think they're coming back for a good thing. Number 3, I've heard rumored that Stephen McFeely of the Christopher Marcus, Stephen McFeely, I think I got that right. One half of the writers is writing both of these movies as well. So they got the writer back, as we talked about last week. But what about Kang? What about Kang, Mike? Why? How did they turn so fast? I have an idea here. Can I pitch my idea?
What's your idea? Yes, please.
They killed off Kang in Quantumania, and they're gonna say he's dead. And Loki, the TVA, they've done all the Kang variants. They're like, the TVA is keeping them in check. We don't need to worry about him anymore. And that's how they're gonna handle it.
Yeah, they could do that also, or they could just be a really badass introductory scene. I mean, this maybe won't happen literally, but the last we saw of the Kings, they're in a giant stadium, right? And they're all hooping and hollering, exciting. What if the very next second of that scene, Doom, warps in on like some sort of like Timpan device and just like annihilates all of them.
He just bombs it.
Yeah. That could be a fun way to do it too. Luckily, not everyone on planet Earth was super into Quantum Mania, so I don't think a lot of people are going to be super upset that Kang maybe is not around anymore.
Exactly. They've already written ways for him to leave without saying you have to come back. Some in credit scenes never get referenced again. It's fine, right? Like how long did the Abomination and even the leader from the Hulk movies never get referenced, right? So absolutely, if they ever want to delve back into Kang or the actor's name, I can't think of his name right now. They could do it, but it makes me also think that we talked about the rumors that they'll never recast him is correct because of his contract. So we'll see. I'm excited. This is exciting. If people want any reading references for this, go read Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and Jonathan Hickman's New Avengers from like 2013, like 2016. It leads into his Secret Wars, where Doom was the god of secret, like the god of Battle World. So I really feel like they're setting that up, and I think that's great. I love it. Mike, anything else about these two Avengers movies that literally I was going to say, the thing that was so funny about this, I went upstairs after it was over, and my wife was reading in bed. She's like, "You look giddy." I'm like, "Yeah." Let me tell you about Comic-Con. And I was like, okay, here's Captain America, here's Thunderbolts, here's Fantastic Four, here's Secret Wars, here's the next Avengers movie, Doomsday. She's like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, guess who they got to play Doom? Anyone you want. And they're like, "Oh, I'm trying to think who's not in the MCU." I'm like, no. Go the other way. Who's already in the MCU who could play Doom? And she's like,
I did the same thing with my wife. I went up to her and be like, "Oh, let me tell you what happened." And then just before I revealed it, I was like, "Oh, wait, I have the experience to watch the reveal." So I pulled up the clip that you sent me, and she was like, "Oh shit."
yeah, exactly. She got hyped. She was like, "Oh, this is exciting." I'm like, "Yeah, this is exciting." So like, for people who aren't into this and adjacent, this is exciting news, right? They may understand variants, they may understand multiverses, some may not, but Robert Downey Jr. is a draw to any movie. So great news all around. We'll just touch on this briefly. Michael, let you have anything else about Comic-Con? The other thing we did this week was watch Deadpool and Wolverine. Mm-hmm. And while we can leave a brief review here, box office, they did say it is the highest R-rated release of all time. I think the number 6 movie even of all time. At the end of the day, this movie is just raking in the cash, Mike. I think that's great. We both got to see it. We have a full review episode. It's full of spoilers. It's hard to review this movie without spoilers. But I was gonna say one of the producers said they were doing fake spoiler plants to throw off the real news to like the scoopers, like when they were feeding them the scoopers bad information. So, which we can confirm, a lot of those cameos, they said, were not in the film at the end of the day, right? So, some were not, which is really cool. Real fast, you just want to do a quick yay nay kind of thing on this movie for people?
Yeah. I mean, since we can't really talk about spoilers, this is very easily recommended. I don't think you have to be a huge MCU cultist or completionist to follow this movie. I mentioned in our review that this passed the mom test, where my mom's only seen like the second Deadpool movie, or thinks she's only seen it. She couldn't actually remember what she watched, but she wanted to go out of her way to watch Deadpool 3 because she just finds them funny, and she was thoroughly entertained by the third one. So, if a movie's passing the mom test, it's going to be doing good at the box office.
Yeah.
So if my mom liked it, I know you're going to like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or at least, be easily you can get into these, right? You've heard about it. This movie, every other ad I'm on right now is a Deadpool and Wolverine ad. Whether it's like, hey, you've got to see it, here's a trailer, or hey, here is you saw it today, you shared it in our group chat, the picture of Wolverine in the suit sitting down holding up a picture of, say, #1 movie in the world, right? So all these ads for this movie, I can recommend it highly as well. It was a good time. The only thing I think, you can watch Deadpool 1, 2. I think it'd be nice if you've seen Logan going into this to help out a little bit. But overall, I don't think you need a lot to go in. It's a great movie. It filters you. It gives you the hand, holds your hand for when you need to know exposition. It pokes fun at so many things. There's so many references. You're gonna laugh your ass off. My audiences, I went twice. One on Thursday opening and one on Saturday morning, and the audiences, they laughed at the same parts, but like there's some parts where they laughed harder in different audiences. It was really fun to see. And stay through for the end credit scene after everything's done. So I highly recommend as well. If you're if you're into spoilers, want to ruin it for yourself, go listen to our review, which should be in your feed as well if you're subscribed. Mike, anything else? This is usually our biggest episode of the year, right? We've actually made a lot of super fans along the way from finding our San Diego Comic-Con coverage, and this was a really good another good year of Comic-Con until next year, Mike. But if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at?
Yeah, they could read my webcomics at liferewardsrisk.com and pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to find you, where are you?
Find me on Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN, or video game systems of the same name, where I've been playing Marvel Rivals. I got to unlock that blue Venom skin before the end of the beta's up. But if people want to know more about the show, more about our review episode, or where we come back every week, where can they find that at?
Oh, head on over to superheroslate.com. That is our Hall H of Superhero Slate, where you want to find all the exciting stuff that we talk about. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. We got merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Reach out. What was your favorite thing at Comic-Con this weekend? What was your most exciting tidbit in Hall H? We'd love to hear from you. Let us know. And we love our super fans. And so if you want to be a super fan of this show, it's so easy to do. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.